Okay, so we have here a game against Iskov.
Iskov, yeah. He
Okay.
was a talented international master from Denmark. And it was the last round, the decisive round from this Super Open from Lloyds Bank in London, 1980. And I had to try to win with black. It was the only possibility. I had to play for win. And of course, my opponent tried to keep the game level like this.
You had to win in order to
win the tournament. Yes. Well, surprising enough, he had also his chance. I mean, if he could win, I mean, he had a good chance to win the tournament, but he played for draw all the time. It's very difficult to understand why. Of course.
But if it was a draw,
if it was a draw, it wasn't bad. It was bad for both. I mean, somebody else could win the tournament, or if we had a very good chance to have an equal result with somebody else. I had already the best bullholds, so I had to try to win to be sure that I win the tournament. But by draw, he had no chance at all to win the tournament. Therefore, I couldn't understand. But okay, it was his choice. He played a normal position with an even game all the time. He tried to have an even game. Well, the position is difficult enough for both, so therefore we can understand.
Maybe he wanted to have a good.
Well, he wanted to have a good result, but if you play, the only chance is to try to win the tournament. Of course, you have to try to win. Even if the opponent is very strong, even then you have to try to win. Okay, so coming back to our game, we played d6, knight f3, castle, and h3. We have one of the most important positions of this line. White wants to put the bishop in d3, castle, and a very strong position from the opening. I mean, I played also with white like this sometimes. I had also some very good results. I could win against Anderson and many other important victories in some important tournaments. But the line is very unclear. Black has also very good counterplay in any position, and the game is very tactical, you see. So after e6, bishop d3, knight a6, white has a better position if black takes immediately in d5. But black waits and takes later on, or he wants to come back in a King's Indian position by playing e6, e5. It's another possibility, It's very unclear. So, okay, knight a6, castle, and knight c7. And now, if white plays a normal move like bishop e3, black has the possibility to give a pawn, for instance, by playing immediately pawn b5. This is a possibility. Or he can take in d5, and after c takes d5, b5. Again, very unclear, very sharp, you see. b5. Now, if he takes in b5, he loses the pawn from e4, and the game is very unclear, but already very good for black, We take in b5, bishop takes b5, knight takes e4. If we have time to do this, black is all right. Black is a very good game. But coming back to our game, he took, surprisingly enough, in e6. And now the game is very clear. Black has no problem. The game is already even after knight takes e6, but you have to try to win with black. Draw is not enough, you see. So, okay, the game is even. I took in e6. He played bishop e3. Knight d7, the best order. We have to try to play on the black squares. I mean, putting the knight in e5, and have the possibility to put later on a knight in d4. If this is enough or not, we'll see. So queen d2, he waits again. So, knight e5, and now again he plays bishop e2, waiting. Well, black has the initiative. Black is already a little bit better, but very little, So he took in f3, very provocative, because he gives you, the possibility to have a small edge, but he wants to demonstrate that you don't have anything in reality,
Not enough.
Yeah, not enough. I mean, the possibility to make a draw is very big here already, So knight d4. Now he gives the pair of bishop, but you have the control on the black diagonal. He has the possibility to put later on a knight on d5. White waits to see what happens. Okay. Therefore, I told you it's provocative enough, a6, bishop d3, bishop d7. We want to play b5. It's clear enough, Now, if you play the move a4, after queen a5, black has some good possibilities on the black squares, He controls all the black squares. But he doesn't play e4, of course. He lets you to play b5, trying to show you that the game is okay for white, even if he gives you this possibility, King h2, again, was very provocative because he gives you the possibility to play the queen b8. After queen b8, you threaten, between other things, to play d5 check with a very strong position,
Yeah.
So, okay, now, exactly here, he plays knight d5. Okay, now you play b5. Finally, you have time to play b5. It looks excellent for black, But, okay, rook e1. I mean, he ignores completely, He plays rook e1. He provokes you again. Now, if you want something, you have to take in c4, because if you don't take immediately in c4, he had time to play b3. And he has the defensive rook, on the queen side.
Yeah.
You don't have anything. Even with two bishops, that is not enough. Okay, I took in c4, he took in c4, and now black takes a pawn. And okay, now he takes in b2, you take in b2, he puts the rook on white, white squares. He attacks the bishop, now bishop d4, and now knight b6. Well, that was the moment hoped by white. If now you play rook a7, normal, or rook d8, he has time to take in d7, you take in d7. Yeah, he takes in d7, you take, and bishop takes a6, and white is a little bit better here, because he has the pawn, the a pawn is very dangerous, and different color bishops is almost impossible to win for black, The position is maybe even, but you never win this, with black. So this was the decisive moment where you had to try to prove what is your plan to try to play for win. And the only possibility is to give the exchange. Bishop b5, I mean, you sacrifice the exchange and have a good possibility to play tactically later on with the pawn majority on the queen side, But you give the exchange.
Yeah, you give the exchange.
Yeah, so everything is forced until the end.
Yeah.
You play with exchange down, with one pawn for exchange, but you have a very good initiative for black, So everything is forced. He took in b5, I took in b5, he took in a8, I took in a8, f4, okay. After f4, f6, also very strong. Now he can't push e5, and our bishop from d4 is excellent. We have a very strong position there. We have the a file, you see. We control the a file. We have the majority, the pawn's majority on the queen side, and we have to try to come quickly with our king. If we arrive with our king from g8 to c6, it's a long way, but it's very clear how to do it. White has to wait, and in any endgame, we have the very strong initiative and very good chance to win. White has no chance to win anymore. He has to wait, hope to make a draw somehow, you see. But black has a good hope to try to win himself, So, okay, we'll see later on what happens. Rook b1, rook a5, of course. Much better than b4. If you play b4, probably you don't win anymore because he gives back the exchange somehow and then takes the pawn from b4. It's too little to try to win. We have to keep as many pawns on board and try to come with our king, as I told you before, to c6. Okay, he waits again. King f7, king g2, king e6. Good. Now it's clear what we want. We want to come through d7 to c6, preparing, to arrive later on with our pawns later, So king e6, queen c, rook c2, he waits again, king d7, rook d1. Now you can't play king c6 because he takes in d4. You have to be careful. Yeah?
Yes.
So, okay, right now we play rook a3. We control the third rank. Now you have some problems with white, especially because you are in time trouble. It's very unpleasant position for him, for any player it's very unpleasant position because you are in such a defensive that you can't hope to do something more, than to wait to see what happens in the next moves. Therefore, it's very unpleasant. So rook b1, and right now we have time to arrive with our king. You see, rook b1, king c6, okay. Here already black has a very good hope to try to play for win. If we arrive with the pawn in c4, king c5, or b5, king b5, is very good. Black has a very good possibility to try to play for win. So already here is very, very unpleasant for white, So rook b3, he tries to keep the position almost even, but black has a very strong initiative, and very easy to play. The position is very easy to play. It's move by move, but very easy. It's no risk at all. So rook a4, and now rook d3. Again, he threatens to take in d4. Okay, we play king b6. Now, if he gives back the exchange, the endgame is lost, of course. Now, he has to wait again. King f3. Okay. b4. We arrived in such a position, as I told you before. Now we threaten to come with the king in b5, And initiative again, move by move. Okay, after b4, king e2, king b5, and he play king d1. But he prepares the defensive, he waits, to see what happens. And right now we play rook a7. We control the seventh rank again to have no surprise at all later on. You see, rook a7 is a good move. He wants to try to give the exchange back in d4, but it's too late because now we have time to arrive with our king. So he played king c4. Now, of course, if he takes in d4, he's lost. Any endgame is lost for white. So he has to try to wait again, king e2. And here we play f5. f5 is very strong because now he's forced to trade the pawn in f5. And afterwards we have the central pawn free. The d6 pawn comes later on maybe to d5. And any endgame is again winning for black, 2 against 3 on the king's side is enough to control completely the position, So after f5 he has to play like in our game, rook c2 check, the king back, of course. Now has to take, we take him f5. Now the e file is open also, that's most unpleasant for white. So rook d2, the only hope is to give again the possibility, to give the exchange in d4, but again, it's too late because he loses the pawn from a2 when he takes, the second move in d4. So again, he has to wait. After h5, king f3. And now, king c4 back, king e2. And now, exactly here, we move the bishop. And right now, the only possibility is to give back the exchange because after rook c2, we have time to play d5. And if we play d5, d4, it's finished. It's Zugzwang, completely Zugzwang, even if he has, for the moment, exchange, but has no counterplay at all, So, what to do? He has to take. So he took in d6, we took in d2, we regained our exchange, but we have still very strong initiative and the winning end game. So now everything is easy, he took back, now king c3, decisive, because now we move the c pawn, and we have a free pawn on the queen side. This is decisive, we'll see. King d1, the only move, c4, yeah. King c2, now the time trouble is, over. We've made the moves, but the endgame is hopeless for white. After king d3, he has to give check in d2, the only possibility, and now king e3. And now he has to move back to b2 to attack. If he had to play king c2, c3, and wins immediately. So he played rook b2, with a small hope that, well, the endgame is completely winning for black anyway. And after king rook b2, b3 is the best move. It has to take now c3, rook c2, king d3, and he resigned. The position is completely winning because now we threaten rook a1 check, rook c1, c2 check, and mate, mate, or he loses everything,
Yeah.
So he resigned. Well, finally, it was like a tactical and positional lesson, the whole game. The idea was very clear. Black gave the exchange for very strong initiative.
Yeah.
But at that moment, when I gave the exchange, was very, very unclear. It was not clear that black wins. But the decision was right because you have a very strong initiative by giving the exchange. And in reality, white has to wait and assist. I mean, he was like a spectator the whole game until the end, you see.
Yeah, yeah.
The only problem was to see if you have time to arrive on time with the king. If you have time to arrive on c6, you have a very good hope to win the endgame. And therefore, the game was very interesting and finally was decisive. I could win the tournament like this,
Even if you were...
Well, exchange down, but it was not important because it was clear that only black could win, by playing right, I mean, if you don't make any mistake, But it was very instructive, yeah.
And you won this tournament?
I won the tournament like this, yes. And it was one of the rare tournaments where, well, I played every tournament, every game to win, and I lost only 2 games. I mean, I won 7 games and I lost 2 games in the tournament, very rare. But it happened without draws, no draw at all, I mean, everything was played only for win. It happened, one of the rare tournaments where you could have such a result.
No draw.
No draw at all, yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah, but it was beautiful, very interesting, yeah. Anyway.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Gheorghiu.
You're welcome.